We've crowned 5 state champions so far this weekend here at the Benton Sports Athletic Complex, and there is one left to decide. It is Sacred Heart and Taylor in the 1A to close out our slate of title games. Hello everybody, once again alongside former Arkansas Razorback Sydney Parr, I am Dorian Kraft. We are so happy to have you with us on the 6th of 6 state softball championship games in Sydney. We have talked about experience multiple times, but maybe no one as experienced as the 6-time state champion Taylor Tigers. What makes them the favorite for number 7?
Taylor, they are efficient in every aspect of their game. Head coach Adam Camp says they have blue-collar mentality, and they'll put that to show today.
As for Sacred Heart, they are the newcomers on the scene. This is their first state championship game in program history. Their only other semifinal was back in 2005. That ball put into play to start off the game. And she is safe at first, as that is Carly Downs beating that one out. And Sydney, obviously, Sacred Heart put to the test here early. How do they combat some of the nerves that come with playing in this game for the very first time?
So alongside the nerves, they have to do 3 things that are very important. They have to stick to controlling the controllables, make every second count, and settle in quickly by not making the moment bigger than what it is.
That was the junior Carly Downs leading off with an infield single, a shortstop for the Taylor Tigers to start off the 1A state championship here on Arkansas PBS Sports. Madison Morton stepping in now as she takes ball 1 low. Or that's a strike, rather. Low in the zone strike, we'll say.
Let's talk about Mackenzie Greason real quick. She throws changeup, fastball, relies on her defense, and this is her first year pitching as she is typically a shortstop.
The 0-1. Swung on through the 5-6 hole, and Taylor starts off the game with back-to-back singles.
And this is something that we're gonna see this Taylor offense do.
That ball skips away, and Downs heads up base running. She advances to third as the throw made it up the first base sideline.
And this is a very potent offense for Taylor. 1 through 9, they can all put the ball in play. They have power. Towards the bottom of the lineup, they do more small ball, but they are in a very aggressive team.
Well, don't expect to see any small ball from number 4, Heidi May, batting .435 on the year, 36 RBIs as she has the opportunity to pick up number 37 here and get her team on the board. First pitch low, and Morton takes second.
And that's great base running by Morton. She saw that ball right off of her jump, hit the ground, taking second base.
Tigers now with 2 in scoring position, no out. Squeeze was on as Downs dives safely back into third.
And this is something that Coach Camp talked about. He is not afraid to squeeze. He did that in some games to get them to this point.
They actually used the squeeze in their win over Vernon and NOLA in the quarterfinal of the state tournament. 2 teams that know each other very well.
Very well, and I want to go back to Carly Downs. That ball wasn't bunted with the squeeze call. She did a good job of getting back to third base.
The 1-2 to May. Just fouled back. Nice job by May staying on the off speed.
That is a great job by May. Typically in that count, that's a pitch that pitchers usually get the hitters to swing and miss on. Did a great job of getting a piece of it to stay alive.
The 1-2. Again, May fouls it back to the backstop.
Right now, May, she's just a little bit out in front, and that's what Greason is trying to do here. She's trying to throw her off balance, but she's doing a good job again of staying alive.
May hitting .435 on the year, the 2nd highest average for the Tigers. That one chopped on the ground right into the hands of head coach Adam Camp down there, coaching third. Put that man a glove.
I was about to say, get him a glove, put him out there.
The 1-2. And again, down the third base line. Couldn't come up with it this time. That was a nice little olay to the side there by Camp.
And this is a great bat already by May. We've talked about it. You know, you're in the top of the first inning. When you're at the top of the lineup, you want to see as many pitches as possible so you can give feedback back to the girls in the dugout.
6th pitch of the at-bat. That one up in the zone. It will be playable, but Downs will tag. She is headed for home. She will beat the throw to the plate. Sacred Heart getting Morton in a rundown off of second. They chase her back, but she slides in safely as the ball squirts away. Sacred Heart able to get the out in left field, but Carly Downs scores on the sacrifice fly.
And that is great job by May. That is how you manufacture runs right there, hitting that sacrifice fly. She did her job. She knew what her role was in this moment with runners at second and third to get in that run.
Adam Camp out to second base to talk to Madison Morton. You see there flexing her hand a little bit. You wonder if maybe she jammed it diving back into the bag on that rundown.
I think she most definitely did. Jammed her hands going back into the base. That happened to you, right?
That happened to me. I broke the middle finger on my right hand doing that when I was a junior in high school, and it's especially important to make sure that she's okay because she is going to be the starting pitcher for the Tigers. As Madison Lindsay fouls the first ball back.
Madison Lindsay, this is an athlete in this lineup who really gets the job done. Coach Adam Camp highlighted that she is a little bit shorter, but that is not a problem because she sees a lot of pitches.
That ball up and out of the zone.
She reminds me of a teammate that I had, Taylor Green at Arkansas. She's now playing at the University of North Carolina, and she is a hitter that can get the job done at the plate. Size does not matter, people.
A lot of power packed in a small frame as that ball ripped into the left center field gap. It is off the wall. Morton is going to be raved around third. She will score. It is an RBI double for Madison Lindsay as Taylor has plated two here in the top of the first.
It's the top of the first inning. Typically, you do not see this in the state championship game. It usually takes time for athletes to get settled, but man, is their offense electric.
As we mentioned, Taylor, a six-time state champion. This is a team that is used to playing on this stage. They've actually won the last three state championships, 2017, 2018, 2019. You figure they would have been the favorite in 2020 had the season not been canceled due to COVID, and they are right back in the state title in 2021. First pitch swinging. Nice job. Over to first in time. May dives into third. She just beats the throw.
Taylor's base running as well, and we've seen it all the past 3 days. Base running is super important in this sport. She does a great job getting off of second base to advance to third.
That was Madison Lindsay taking third on the throw over to first. And it looks like we got a little bit of blood as she's holding her arm. That's one of the things that this turf field will do to you. It doesn't slide quite as nicely as dirt does. It's a little bit more abrasive on those parts of your arms that are exposed.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Turf burn is a thing. It's similar to getting carpet burn. It doesn't feel too great.
Dirt burn doesn't feel very good either. If anyone who's ever slid on a rock hard field knows that that'll scar you up pretty good. I know I've got a couple to prove it.
We were talking about that as we walked out of the park actually last night, showing each other the scars that we have on our legs from sliding.
The funny thing is it's in the exact same place on our shins. It just goes to show you all softball players kind of look the same at some point as we're talking things over. Taylor already brought in 2 runs here in the top of the first. They've got a runner on third with 2 outs, and it will be Maggie McHenry coming to the plate. As we've got a Madison Lindsay that's headed back over towards third.
Little blood never hurt.
No, it's fine. McHenry hitting .355 with 18 doubles, 3 doubles and 18 singles. Takes ball 1 upstairs.
Stemming off of what this offense has done already in this game, one thing that the point that Coach Adam Camp made is he told his team before this game, we have prepared you for every situation, so just go out there and play.
The 1-0. Back up the middle, that's gonna sneak its way through. Lindsay comes in to score, and it is an RBI single for Maggie McHenry.
And that's a great piece of hitting by McHenry, really staying on and through that outside pitch to send it back up the middle,
Three runs on 3 hits for the Taylor Tigers here in the top of the first of the 1A state championship game. Leslie Goodner now standing in. First pitch swinging, that one's opposite way. McHenry's going to be waved around second. She will hold up as the throw comes into the infield. It's a good job by Sydney Brigler out in right field, getting that ball in quickly.
It was a great job by Sydney Brigler. She could have easily gone first to third there as Coach Camp was waving her on.
And that's one thing that Kyle Duval talked to us about before the game, is limiting Taylor's ability on the base pass. They run the base pass so well. We've already seen it so far here today. Kendall McClendon takes the first pitch in the dirt. I'm gonna just keep calling it the dirt. I know it's the turf. It's gonna be the dirt, sorry guys.
It's what's typically said 99% of the time.
These two teams have only met once before. That was back in 2015.
Right now, these Taylor hitters, they are seeing the ball so well, and the thing that is making them successful is they are not going deep in the count. They are working ahead in the count, majority of them attacking first pitch strike.
The 1-1 stays inside.
You like to see a team from the jump get in the box, be gritty, be aggressive early in a game.
And Sydney, it's funny that when we were down on the field, Taylor said they were nervous as that ball skied into the air. A little bit of a tweener. Emery Holzman back out to grab it to end the inning, but Taylor gets 3 runs on 5 hits. The Tigers jump out to the early lead. We head to the bottom of the first. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
For every moment, for every memory, from that first car, to your first home, to your first child, and all the highs and lows that tomorrow might bring. For everything that matters most to you and your family, there's someone right around the corner dedicated to helping you protect what you love. Your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
For students, it's always more fun to include the arts when you're learning. I mean, just to have expression, to see different forms of entertainment, it always just makes it more fun. And when I heard that my mother was recording different sections that teachers were gonna see, I was excited for the students who will get to use it in their classrooms.
Arkansas PBS is a place where everyone can see themselves, where everyone can find themselves, where everyone can be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Support your team and join the conversation on social media with #ARPBSSports. Taylor jumped out to a 3-run lead in the top of the first on 5 hits. One of those hits being a single from Madison Morton, who now starts the game for the Taylor Tigers.
Madison Morton, she has been a huge piece to this team, especially on the mound. She tops at 60. She throws a fastball, change, screw, curve. She really likes to stay east to west. She's not going to elevate the ball up in the zone a whole lot. She really does a great job of throwing a lot of strikes and keeping the hitters off balance. Now, I want to note, this is her first year pitching in 4 years. She, along with Greason, is another pitcher who really hasn't pitched but has stepped up for her team to do what is needed to be done.
Morton 14-1 on the year, 94 2/3 innings pitched with a 2.3 ERA, and she will face Greason, Pettingill, and Holzman to start off the bottom of the third for the Sacred Heart Lady Rebels. First pitch in there for a strike.
And Mackenzie Greason, she does a phenomenal job on the mound, but she is a big piece to the Sacred Heart lineup.
Greason hitting .355 on the years, 22 hits, 3 doubles, 5 triples. So some speed and some power behind that bat as she lines that one into right field for a leadoff single.
So both teams now have had their leadoff hitter get on. This is super important in a game like this to every inning have your leadoff hitter get on.
Not just your leadoff hitter, Sydney, but getting your leadoff hitter after giving up 3 runs in the top of the first inning.
And that says a lot. So, you know, she might have had some nerves in that top of the first inning pitching on the mound, but to come back and throw a punch and get it done at the plate for her team, to spark them, that says a lot about who she is as an athlete.
Pettingill takes a strike on the outside.
And to go back to Greason, you love to see it because she could have easily, at the top of the first inning, crumbled, and she hasn't done that.
Pettingill hitting .298. 2 doubles with a triple. That one up. Does she have room? Madison Lindsay had a beat on it. Running up onto the fence. That would have been a tough play, a really great play. Was she able to make it?
And that was good hustle by Lindsay. It was just really tough because it was skimming the inner part of the net.
We've seen a lot of fantastic plays by catchers this weekend.
Oh my gosh, have we? They have done a phenomenal job of fielding their position when balls are hit foul.
No, I'll top that. We've just seen a lot of fantastic defensive plays as well. Yo, 2. That ball hammered out into left. That's going to drop for a single. And they nearly had Greason at second base, who had to hold up to make sure that ball wasn't caught in the air. That ball short hopped Kendall McClendon there at second base, and now Sacred Heart answers back with back-to-back singles.
And that is a great swing by Pettingill, but a really great job in left field by Leslie Goodner, keeping that ball in front of her. That's sometimes a tough ball that's hit that can get past an outfielder, and then to come up and gun her out, try to gun her out at second.
Halen Holzman stepping in now, and this is really where the power part of Sacred Heart's lineup starts. Holzman hitting .417. Morton going to the off speed and staying away from the powerful Holzman.
And something that's interesting is head coach Kyle Duvall. He talked about how in the corners their fence sits at 235 feet, which is not usual, and she has hit home runs over 235-foot fences.
6 home runs on the year for Holzman. As that one stays too far outside, and certainly a shorter park here at the Benton Sports Athletic Complex. It's 200 to left and right and 2 straightaway center. Much more of a hitter's park.
Most definitely. The wall is a little high, but most definitely a hitter's park.
Hitters count at 2-0. Holzman swinging at that one. That ball is high, but it is going to be playable. Greason tagging. She's into third safely as both runners advance.
And that's another great job. We saw it with Taylor, but with Sacred Heart here really being well on the base path. Great job tagging up, knowing the depth of Lauren Leonard and how far she was to be able to advance. I think in that situation, though, Greason already looked like she was going to be safe at third. So to be able to keep Pettingill at first, I would have liked to have seen her throw that at second to split the runners.
Elizabeth Aquilar. Takes a strike on the outside.
And that's a great curveball on the outer part of the plate by Morton. Can already see from her and her mannerisms that she's ready to come after these hitters. She's being very aggressive on the rubber.
Aquilar, the senior catcher. 21 RBIs on the year. That ball sliced down the right field line.
And that pitch was an inside screwball that I think she got a little bit jammed on, let the pitch get a little bit too deep.
Sacred Heart with an opportunity to get some runs back after Taylor scored 3 in the top of the first here in the 1A state championship game. Sydney Parr, Dorian Kraft, happy to have you with us here today as we round out our state softball championships. The 0-2, back up the middle. Taylor able to get the out at first, and Greason takes off. She is going to be safe at the plate. Pettingill advances to third. as the Lady Rebels get one back. And I think, Sydney, that Greason deliberately baited them into trying to come after her.
I think she most definitely did. I agree with you, Dorian, and that was a really great job. She has speed, so to get them to make the throw to third so that she could advance to home, you love to see it. It worked in their favor.
Maggie McHenry saw her halfway off the base pass. She threw behind her to Heidi May, and Greason immediately took off, heading for home. She was in there safely, regardless of whether or not the throw had been on target. And now it is Bailey Sparks. And that was a pretty pitch for Madison Morton.
That was a great pitch for first pitch strike to Sparks, throwing that tight inside screwball.
That looked like a hitter's pitch to me. Sometimes that first pitch is the best pitch you're going to see during an at-bat.
And then after that, she's going to throw what she wants.
Sparks softly on the ground to first. McHenry gloves it, gets back to the bag in time for the unassisted out. Sacred Heart gets one back in the bottom of the first. We are going to the top of the second for the score 3-1 in favor of Taylor. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas. Over 2,500 team members across 17 local electric distribution co-ops, powering homes, farms, and industries somewhere across Arkansas. We are the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas. Power and people.
Farmers and Merchants Bank and the Bank of Fayetteville share the mission of Arkansas PBS to enrich and empower all Arkansans. Community, dignity, respect. That's what Me Banking is all about. More at mebanking.com.
Be the first to know what's happening at Arkansas PBS and get the latest sports updates. Download the Engage Arkansas PBS app today for exclusive content. Taylor leading 3-1 in the top of the second after Sacred Heart got one back. When we take a look at Taylor head coach Adam Camp in his 9th season on this sideline for Taylor. And he's going to like what he sees there from Michaela Downs as she rips the first pitch to the wall in left center field for a stand-up double.
Talk about a ball being absolutely ripped. First pitch strike, love to see Downs in her first at-bat of the game get in there and be aggressive. She really kept her hands in tight, staying through that ball to blast it to the left center field wall.
As we mentioned, Adam Camp in his 9th year has some high expectations for this Taylor program. As Carly Downs takes ball one.
Indeed he does, Dorian. I mean, they have been here. They're going for the four-peat.
Technically, it would be the four-peat, obviously, 2020. That ball into left field. Downs had to hustle, and smart base running by Carly Downs as she takes second on the throw to third.
This team is outstanding at base running. I think it's been quite a while since I've seen a team take extra bases like this. It is outstanding.
And Cindy, you and I got a chance to talk to Adam Camp in person, and it feels like just in that 20 or so minutes that we spent talking to him that this team really takes on his personality.
Oh, very much so. They really do take on his personality. They are a great group of girls who have gelled well together.
Off speed, first pitch to Madison Morton for the strike.
Right now, I think for Greason, she's going to need to start implementing that changeup a little bit more to throw these Taylor hitters off balance.
That ball high and deep to center field. That ball off the top of the wall. Downs will score. And Madison Morton with a 2-run double to give Taylor a 5-1 lead here in the second.
Talk about extra bases. This Taylor lineup has already hit so many doubles. Great piece of hitting by Morton. She really kept her hands back, driving that to the fence. And to be honest, Dorian, I think if this wall wasn't as tall, that would have been a home run. Major props, though, out there. Lizzie Beck probably isn't used to a wall being this high, needing to adjust as it kicked off the wall, but great piece of hitting by Morton.
Yeah, that ball just off the yellow at the top of the wall, and it's a little hard to see on the broadcast, but that wall has corrugated grooves, and so it looks like that ball hit off one of them and kind of caromed back into the field. Lizzie Beck getting a good jump, but that ball does travel a little bit more than it would be on a padded fence. But Sydney, to your point, if we were playing at Bogle Park like normally where we hold the state championships, that ball is a 3-run home run.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely it is over Bogle Park's wall.
Kyle Duval out to talk to his infield. A couple of words of encouragement as he heads back to the dugout. And this is something that we expected to see from this Taylor offense. They average nearly 10 runs a game. They scored 56 through their first 5 games alone as Greason goes to get the lead runner. And Morton is out trying to take third.
And that's a good job right there by Greason to get the lead runner, to only allow May to get a single out of that. Catcher Aguilar, she was telling her, go 3, go 3. So that's good communication on her part.
Madison Lindsay swinging at the first pitch. Lindsay had an RBI double back in the first inning. I say back like it's been that long ago. The 0-1. That ball stayed down and out.
And interestingly enough, the last at-bat that she had, they really stayed on the outer part of the plate. She swung at first pitch strike and hit it well, and they're still sticking to that outer part of the plate.
That ball lined into center field. Diving attempt made by Lizzie Beck. She can't get there. Heidi May being waved around from first. She will score. And Madison Lindsay with an RBI triple here in the second.
And how about a triple like just previous to that pitch, really staying on the outer part of the plate. She stays well on that screwball, driving it into center field. Great effort by Lizzie Beck, just gets past her. How about a triple?
Yeah, triples not often in the game of softball. As we've talked about, the shorter fences make triples a little bit harder, although that is number 2 on the year for Lindsay. So Madison Lindsay now with an RBI double and an RBI triple to start the game.
She has already had a game at the plate.
That's a good game for a lot of players, let alone a good 2 innings, as Lauren Leonard back up the middle at a hard hit ball, but Lindsay will score on the throw to first.
And there we see another situation where we go 60 feet. The athlete goes 60 feet from third to home on a ground ball to the infield. Just some really solid base running by Taylor. And I love how aggressive Coach Camp is with his players.
Maggie McHenry singled in the first. First pitch swinging chopper on the ground to short. Cooper over to first in time. That will end the inning, but the Tigers get 4 more in the second. They take a 7-1 lead into the bottom half of the inning. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
Now, more than ever, community is important. Local schools, businesses, and charities are in need of support. Each one of us can make a difference. When you volunteer, give, shop locally, or simply participate, you help support and grow your community. It makes us all stronger when we all are involved. I'm Susie Everett with Everett Buick GMC. We're proud to be a part of this wonderful community and want to encourage each of you to be involved in yours.
Let me take you for a ride on the baseline.
Download photos from the game at myarpbs.org/photos. Taylor has taken a 7-1 lead here in the second inning, and they have jumped all over Sacred Heart here to start this 1A state final.
Right, Dorian, they are seeing the ball really well, and it goes back to what they did the first inning. They are extremely aggressive at the plate. They are not getting behind in the count. They are working ahead in the count, a lot of times swinging at first pitch strike. And I don't know what the percentage is, but for hitters who swing at first pitch strike, the success rate is very high.
If you're the Lady Rebels, Sydney, what is your focus to try and get back into this game?
I think it goes back to actually what Coach Kyle Duvall talked about. He said there's that fine line of being aggressive and getting a pitch to drive, being selectively aggressive. They're really going to have to stay disciplined here, ensuring that they're staying patient, they're waiting to get that pitch that they want to drive, and to really string together some hits.
Well, Kyle Duvall is a busy man. He is also the athletic director and the head girls basketball coach at Sacred Heart. And this game means just a little bit more to him. He's a Sacred Heart alumni. He graduated back in 2007. He said bringing a state title back to his school would mean so much to him and his family, who are all alumni, and the Morrilton community that has come out and support this program today.
That is really something special and something that you do not see often, a head coach graduating from their high school to come back to coach of their school. And man, is he busy. Is he ever home? Does he get a break?
Coaches never get a break. Isn't that the deal?
Yes, they don't ever.
The 0-2 to Carly Cooper. Now the ball stays upstairs.
And that's a great job by Cooper in an 0-2 count, laying off of that rise ball there. That's usually a pitch that you see hitters getting out of their zone to chase when they're down with 2 strikes.
Cooper, Emerson Holzman, and Sydney Brigler due to bat for the Lady Rebels here in the bottom of the second. Softly hit on the ground to first. McHenry picks it up and takes it over to the bag for out number 1.
And that's a great job by Madison Morton, really attacking Cooper early in the count to get her to hit that ground ball, and that's what she does best. She lets her defense work behind her.
Sydney, Sacred Heart coming in today 16-5. They have won their last 6 games, but someone were to look at their record, they would notice that they've played a lot fewer games than the majority of the teams in this state tournament.
You're exactly right, Dorian, and talking to head coach Kyle Duvall, they actually at the beginning of the season, they started late because majority of their girls on their team, they played basketball. They had to cancel the first week of season.
Coach Duvall didn't really feel like this team started clicking until about the regionals. It took them that long to get up and get going, but he said this team has gotten better every game. They've progressed continually. They have grown together. That is something that he has loved to see. That was Holzman grounding out to first to bring up Brigler. Brigler swinging at the first pitch.
And that's something as a coach that you just love to see as your team progresses as the season goes on. They're not remaining stagnant. And that just goes back to learning what your strengths and weaknesses are, making adjustments as you progress.
The senior hitting .279 on the year, 17 hits, 15 singles, 2 doubles. Flared out into right field. That ball is going to land foul.
Right now, Madison Morton, she is pounding these Sacred Heart hitters inside. And from the last 3 hitters that we've seen step up to the plate, they're getting jammed on that pitch, which means that they are a little bit late. So it's hard to get their hands to that pitch.
Brigler down 0-2 in the count with 2 outs here in the bottom of the second inning with Sacred Heart trailing 7-1. The pitch. Fouled away as Brigler stays alive.
And I think right now for Madison Morton, she's going to keep pounding that arm side part of the plate until these Sacred Heart hitters can show that they can be more on time and get their hands out to piece up a good hit.
The 0-2. Flared out into right field. That ball is going to drop. Brigler safely at first with a 2-out single.
And that's a great job by Sydney Brigler. Earlier in her at-bat, she was getting jammed, but as we just saw Madison Morton throwing it that curveball on the outer part of the plate, she did a good job of throwing her hands at it and staying through that pitch to drive it to right field.
That brings up senior center fielder Lizzie Beck. Beck, a 176 hitter. 9 hits on the season for Beck. Swinging at the first pitch.
And what a cut Lizzie Beck just took at that first pitch strike.
And she wasn't getting cheated on that one.
Oh, no, she was not. She had everything in her going at that pitch.
The 0-1. That one stays low for ball number 1. And Sydney, to your point, you know, about going up there, there was nothing to lose already for Sacred Heart coming into this game. Coach Duvall noted that, you know, he knew they weren't the favorites. They knew what their role was. They were never the favorites in the 1A throughout the majority of the season, and now there really is nothing left to lose, down 6 runs in the second inning.
You're exactly right, Dorian, being down 6 runs in the second inning. They don't have anything to lose, but I am sure that Coach Kyle Duvall would like to see them make a comeback.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, I'm sure that, you know, this team plays with a lot of heart. They've been down in games before, but it takes a little bit of the pressure off.
It does, you're exactly right.
Playing in your first state championship game, I don't care what you say, there's always going to be a little bit of nerves, and sometimes it just takes an inning or two to get over that.
And sometimes in situations like this, the team that is expected to win, that adds a little bit of pressure to them because they don't want to get beat.
Carly Downs and Madison Morton having a little bit of a conversation there in the circle. Beck takes a strike as Morton brings the count full.
And that's a great pitch by Madison Morton in a 3-1 count to go at Lizzie Beck.
Morton is yet to record a strikeout through 2 innings. 3-2, 2 outs, runner in motion. And there is strikeout number 1 for Mackenzie Morton as she sets down Lizzie Beck. That will end the inning. Sacred Heart gets a runner on, but can't get them over. It is 7-1 Taylor as we go to the top of the 3rd. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
This month in Passport on the PBS video app, your on-demand library for the best of PBS.
Born a slave in Jamaica, taken from a mama. This be my story.
I hate the myth of Hemingway. The man is much more interesting than the myth.
There is no alternative to soul.
That on national TV was revolutionary.
These and other shows are available with Passport on the PBS video app. Download it today.
My name is Al Lopez, Papa Rap in the house. I live in Northwest Arkansas via Puerto Rico. Been here since 1994. Desde 94. And really, Arkansas PBS is the one that has taught me about this great community that we have here. Wonderful, beautiful, so much programming, tanta programación for children, for grown-ups. Porque es el canal de Arkansas. This is the real Arkansas channel.
Well, if you couldn't make it to the game, Arkansas PBS now offers more ways to view the action on demand. Visit youtube.com/Arkansas PBS. Kyle Duvall has made a pitching change. He is going to go with Bailey Sparks into the game in place of Mackenzie Greason. Sparks, 15 2/3 innings on the year. She's only appeared in 4 games with 17 hits and 14 runs given up. She's 1-2 for the Sacred Heart Lady Rebels.
And Bailey Sparks, she's going to be a little bit different look than Greason. As she sits in the lower 50s, she's really going to trust her spin, move it around the plate, spot the ball up on the corners.
The 1-1. That ball flared into shallow left field. Carly Cooper back to make out number 1. And Sydney already in that first at bat to Leslie Goodner. You could see the speed differential between Greason and Sparks, giving Leslie Goodner some trouble.
You're exactly right, and this just gives the Taylor hitters a little bit more of a time that they're going to need to make an adjustment. Bailey Sparks, there is a speed difference between she and Greason, so this is going to throw these Taylor hitters off. They're going to have to adjust.
Kendall McClendon coming to the plate. She grounded out to second in her first at bat. A little bit of a conversation as Elizabeth Aquilar goes out to talk to Sparks at the mound.
And it looked in that moment whenever she was called for an illegal pitch, she hadn't quite come set on the mound.
That ball stays inside. And it's, Sydney, it's not just the velocity that makes it a little bit different in terms of Greason to Sparks, but also the slower speed means that these Taylor hitters are going to have to generate more of their own power. That ball high and deep to center field. Off the wall in front of Lizzie Beck, as McClendon in there with a stand-up double.
I'm sure as McClendon was coming up to bat that she was watching Leslie Goodner as there was a speed difference, knowing that she really needed to wait late on this pitch, making sure that she doesn't even start her timing until the pitch is already halfway there. It's a good effort again by Lizzie Beck, just really hitting off this wall and kicking off hard.
Michaela Downs takes strike 1. As she was walking up to the plate, Adam Camp really signaling to her to keep that weight back on that back shoulder. Wait, 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 because of the speed differential between the two pitchers. Sparks dropped that in there for strike 2.
And you know, to go back to Kendall McClendon, that's a really great job because typically when hitters are facing two pitchers that have a significant, you know, speed difference, it's really hard. It usually takes a few innings to make the adjustment.
The 0-2. She squibs it foul down the first base line to stay alive.
And just as you were saying, Dorian, for Coach Camp telling her to wait back, a lot of times hitters get in the box and they don't really realize how big of a speed difference it is. And so they get out on their front foot, you know, way too far out in front because they're so early.
The 0-2. That one stays high. Taylor leading 7-1 here in the top of the third. That ball on the ground to third. Holzman looked the runner back and got the ball over to first in time to get the out.
And that's a great play by Holzman, looking the runner back at second base. She did not want the Taylor base runner to advance another base.
Sydney Brigler has made the move from right field to first base with the pitching change. And Carly Downs steps to the plate with 2 outs. That ball skied to center field. Beck underneath it to make out number 3. And Bailey Sparks able to keep Taylor off the scoreboard. It is 7-1. We are going to the bottom half of the third. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
Sports is so important to this state and the fabric of the state, and I appreciate Arkansas PBS doing all the state title games, and that makes it available for not just the fans in Central Arkansas, South Arkansas, but fans around the entire state. I can only think of the kids in small towns, and this is the biggest moment maybe in their sports careers, and they have that keepsake of having that game on TV to have with them the rest of their lives.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it. At Big Red Stores, we're always proud to sponsor, support, and partner up with many events and activities throughout the community. Among them, high school championships throughout the state of Arkansas. At Big Red Stores, our team members are always ready to assist you to make your visit with us a pleasant one. And at Big Red Stores, we recognize that none of our support or ability to serve the community is possible without you. That's why at Big Red Stores, you're always the MVP of the Big Red team. Big Red Stores, now more convenient than ever.
The softball student athlete of the game is Lydia Polk from Wonderview High School. The sophomore pitcher has a 3.5 GPA, and she plans to continue her education and pursue a career in physical therapy or nursing, and plans to play softball at the collegiate level. She currently has offers from both in-state and out-of-state schools. She has pitched 31 games and recorded 207 strikeouts. Congratulations, Lydia.
Good for her. She has offers from both in-state and out-of-state.
Only a sophomore. We expect to see big things from Lydia Polk from Wonderview in the coming years.
Sounds like the sky is the limit for this girl.
Back to the top of the lineup for Sacred Heart in the bottom of the third. It will be Greason, Pettingill, and Holzman.
And Dorian Greason is the second athlete that we have seen that is committed to further her career after high school, but it's for basketball to the University of Ozarks.
Greason scored more than 1,100 points during her career at Sacred Heart. She's a three-time all-conference selection, all-state as a senior. As she takes strike one. And putting that speed to use on the basketball court as a shooting guard. The 1-1. That ball flared out to shallow right field. Reese Fowler is under it for out number one.
And that's a great job by Reese Fowler out in right field. She got the read off the bat, sprinted in to make the grab close to the right field line.
Now drive number 4, Shelby Pettingill.
Shelby Pettingill singled during the first inning. The second of those back-to-back hits by Sacred Heart. First pitch swinging back over the press box.
Madison Morton, from the first inning to now, she has continued to go at these hitters. She has been pretty dominant. Every single pitch that she has thrown, she has executed them all well.
Pettingill, one of the 8 seniors on this Sacred Heart roster. Adam Camp calling time to go out and talk to his senior pitcher, Madison Morton, as that pitch was signaled as illegal by the home plate umpire. Eddie Hillis had his hand out as Morton went down to, looked like, retie her shoe after she'd already gotten the signal from home plate.
Right, and then she also had the ball in her hand and she was rubbing it on the turf, so I'm sure that that played a part in his call.
I see a little shrug from Morton, a little laugh from Coach Camp as he jogs back to the dugout.
I'm sure that conversation was, yeah, all right, okay, let's move on.
So it's a 1-1 count on Pettingill as Morton steps back to the mound. That ball taken low. Again, Pettingill, one of 8 seniors on this Sacred Heart roster, 9 counting the team manager. And this is really a class that kind of turned the corner for this Sacred Heart team. They kind of set the Lady Rebels back on the map in terms of softball.
Yeah, and Coach Camp, he highlighted it a lot whenever he was talking about his seniors, how they really have changed this program and have impacted it in so many ways.
Kyle Duvall couldn't say enough good things about this team. The 2-1 rocketed down the line into the left field corner, but foul.
Shelby Pettingill, she got a piece of that, getting her barrel around the ball, just sending it foul, but that was a great piece of hitting.
Sacred Heart down 7-1 here in the bottom of the 3rd. Off speed. Pulled foul down the line.
And the pitch before that was hit foul. I want to note something. Madison Morton, she really hasn't gone up in the zone a ton. She's stayed low in the zone, working the ball in and out. So that was the first time we've really seen her go up in the zone on a hitter.
The 2-2. Went up in the zone this time, just a little bit too far.
And that's a great job in a 2-2 count to lay off that pitch. Usually that's a chase pitch that a pitcher will throw.
Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming for Shelby Pettingill. And she takes ball 4.
And that's a great at-bat by Shelby Pettingill to really remain disciplined, especially in a 2-2 count. She works it to a walk.
First walk of the game issued by Madison Morton. And that brings up Halen Holzman, who had a sacrifice fly back in the 1st. And again, Sydney, if Sacred Heart is going to get anything going, this is one of the places where it needs to get started.
Right, they're down by a 6-run deficit. The bottom of the 3rd inning, they are really going to have to piece together and string some hits, because this is the part of the game that's going to be very crucial to them.
Holzman hitting .415, 6 home runs, 41 RBIs for the junior 3rd baseman, already getting some looks for college. She swings through the curveball on the outside part of the plate.
And she's an athlete that Coach Kyle Duvall talked about. She brings a lot of energy. She is the one out on 3rd base that is kind of the anchor of the defense. She not only gets the job done on the field, but she brings the energy and keeps her team going.
And she is the one that can be heard possibly through our headsets in this broadcast. She is the loudest one in the dugout, according to Kyle Duvall. The 0-2. She sends it out to center field. That ball is hammered. It will get to the fence. Pettingill going to be waved around 3rd. Will have a play at the plate. Pettingill is safe as Holzman comes through with an RBI double.
Holzman absolutely roped that ball to center field, as we saw Lauren Leonard coming in a little bit. She thought it was shallow, hit over her head. That ball is absolutely roped. And then when she got to 2nd, we kind of saw her mannerism. She squatted down and started pumping her fist.
I saw that. She was pumped up after picking up her 42nd RBI of the season. And Sydney, again, we talk about cutting down the deficit. You can only do it 1 run at a time. You can't get ahead of yourself. But if the Lady Rebels are going to get back into it, they need hits like that.
They most definitely do.
Elizabeth Aquilar stepping in, and she is committed to Arkansas Tech, the first ever softball commit to come out of the Sacred Heart program.
That is something very special, and that's a big feat in itself.
1-0. That ball is going to be flared into shallow left. Holzman will hold at 3rd base as Aquilar on with a single.
And you just said it, Dorian, before Aquilar's at bat. They're going to have to piece together hits like that, continue to string them together, and make most out of their at-bats.
And typically we say bloop and a blast and a bloop will work just as well.
It goes down in the books as a base hit, and she advanced the runner.
We are going to get a courtesy runner for the catcher, Aquilar. That is number 23, the senior Leah Moore.
Number 8, Bailey Sparks.
And for Moore, this is a big moment. She's coming in to fulfill her role as a pinch runner. She's on first base for a reason.
Moore has played in 19 games this season, scored 13 runs. As that is taken low for a ball. And Sydney, we talked about Elizabeth Aquilar committing to Arkansas Tech. She's been playing softball since she was 8 years old, playing at the collegiate level, always something that she dreamed of. The Golden Sun's going to be very fortunate to get her coming into the program. Moore taking second as that ball skips away from Madison Lindsay, and now Sacred Heart with 2 runners in scoring position.
And that's great base running right there, getting the read off of the glove of Madison Lindsay to advance to second. And she's speedy, so if Sparks could get something through the infield right here, we might see 2 runners come across home plate.
That ball tapped on the ground to third. May over to first in time. Play at the plate, but Holzman is safe, and talk about pumped up. You see it as she turns to the crowd. Halen Holzman getting this crowd going as she is trying to will Sacred Heart back into this.
And Holzman is an athlete that you see, she plays with a lot of emotion. You've got to love it. And here it is, another ground ball out where we see Holzman advance from third to home. Just goes back to both teams have very aggressive base running. They're going to take every chance that they can get.
Sacred Heart has cut the deficit to 4 here in the bottom of the third as they have brought in 2 runs. As Carly Cooper looks at strike 1. Grounded out to first in her first at bat in the second inning.
And to go back to Heidi May, she made a really good play. I'm not so sure that she looked Holzman back for long enough, but she made a great play on that ground ball.
The 0-1. Sliced foul. And to that play at third, I actually don't have a problem with it. You know, you look back Holzman briefly, but with a 5-run lead, you're not really that concerned about the runner on third. Sometimes as a fielder, if you worry too much about the runners, it can actually impact the way that you play defense.
That's a really great point, Dorian. You're exactly right. More times than not, we see athletes looking the runner back for way too long, and like you just said, they can't get that out at first base. It has been a while, though, that I've seen runners score from first to third on ground balls hit to the infield like that.
Now, these are 2 aggressive teams on the base paths, that's for sure. Carly Cooper in an 0-2 count with 2 out and a runner on second. That ball again flared foul down the right field line.
And for Madison Morton right now, she is really sticking to that inner part of the plate on Cooper, as Cooper's just still a little off timing-wise behind her pitch as it's flaring off down the right field line.
Cooper batting .235. 12 hits, 8 doubles, 16 RBI. The 0-2. On the ground to second. McClendon is there over to first in time for the out. And that will do it for Sacred Heart here in the bottom of the third. They get 2 back as we go to the top of the fourth. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
Baseball, the most watched series in PBS history, is coming home.
There he goes.
See how baseball became our national pastime and why this Ken Burns series remains an American classic.
Sign up for our newsletter to be entered to win the entire Ken Burns baseball series on DVD.
The Cherokee Nation, our people, our culture, our history, our future. To learn more, go to visitcherokeenation.com and say hello to the Cherokee Nation.
the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas. Over 2,500 team members across 17 local electric distribution co-ops, powering homes, farms, and industries somewhere across Arkansas. We are the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas. Power and people.
We never gonna stop.
Play ball! Win the full Ken Burns Landmark Series baseball DVD set by signing up to receive our newsletter at myarpbs.org/sign-up. The Sacred Heart fans on their feet, cheering on their Lady Rebels as they got 2 back in the bottom of the 3rd. It is now 7-3. Taylor leading as we head to the top of the 4th inning. And Cindy, for a while, it looked like we might be on our way to a blowout. Sacred Heart won their Taylor won their last state title 10-0 in walk-off fashion. But Sacred Heart making a game of it here as we get on into the later innings.
You know, that's a lot to be proud of from Sacred Heart. Sometimes when you're down by a 6-run deficit, you kind of think in your mind, okay, like, we have to get 5 more runs. But they did a great job of punching back to scratch 2. The leadoff batter, Emerson Holzman, getting on for Taylor. That was pitcher Madison Morton. We'll have a courtesy runner. Jaislyn Rich, the sophomore, coming in to run for Morton. That ball hammered down the left field line. And that's a great job by Heidi May. She knows that Bailey Sparks is throwing it a little bit slower than what she saw from Greason. She actually put her hands out to kind of square around, to pull back, to be able to time up her pitch. May with a sacrifice and a fielder's choice as she leaves that low for ball number 1. And as these Taylor hitters are sitting in the dugout, they need to watch to learn from their teammates at bats. High in the air to right center field. The out is made. That's Emerson Holzman out there in right field. We've had a little shuffling of the Sacred Heart lineup ever since Bailey Sparks came in to pitch for Mackenzie Greason. So it now goes around the horn. Sparks, Aquilar, Brigler, Carly Cooper is at second. Greason in to play shortstop, then Halen Holzman at third, Pettengill, Beck, and Emerson Holzman out in right field for the Lady Rebels. The 2-0. Madison Lindsay takes it for a ball. And Madison Lindsay, she has had 2 phenomenal at-bats in her first 2. Here she's facing Bailey Sparks. She's gonna have to adjust as she saw Greason both times in her first 2 at-bats. Lindsay takes ball 4. Probably not a bad walk considering Lindsay already with a double and a triple. That's exactly right, Dorian. That is not a bad walk. Only allowing her 60 feet to first to not put the ball in the gap and advance. Lauren Leonard 0 for 2. Grounded out to third in the first and grounded out to the pitcher in the second. One of the few players in this Taylor lineup without a hit so far here this afternoon. Shows bunt and pulls back as she takes it for ball 1. And I think that's something that we're going to see these Taylor hitters do. They're going to square around to show bunt to be able to pull back to get their timing off of Sparks. The 1-0.
stays upstairs. Drops that in for a strike.
And the Taylor crowd, they are not too happy about that call, as that pitch was off the plate.
That one stays just a bit outside. And Sydney, with that ball that's kind of arcing in there right at the front of the plate, for these Taylor hitters, how do they have to adjust where they stand in order to make sure that that ball is not dropping outside of their swing zone?
So how they adjust is they need to scoot up to the front of the plate so they can catch that ball as it's in the air, not when it's dropping in.
Tapped on the ground to short. Greason had the lead runner at third, but Holzman couldn't hang on, and the base is full of Tigers for Maggie McHenry.
And there it is, the ground ball to Greason at short. Did a great job of backhanding that over to Holzman. Holzman just couldn't hold on as it was chest high.
And that's a tough break for Sparks because she got exactly what she wanted. And now she has to deal with Maggie McHenry, who is singled and had an RBI ground out already here this afternoon. Taylor leading 7-3 in the top of the fourth. That ball staying upstairs.
And for Coach Duvall making this pitching change, this Taylor lineup, this offense, they were very explosive in the first 2 innings. So I don't think it was a bad call on his part.
Taylor averaging nearly 10 runs a game this season. Deep to center field. Playable for Beck. But they will tag and score as it is the pinch runner, Jacelyn Rich, coming in from third.
And that was a great job by McHenry, launching that ball into center field to get her teammate 60 feet to be able to come across home plate to score.
Runners on second and third for Leslie Goodner. Shows bunt, pulls back. And Adam Camp and the Tigers not letting up at all on the aggressiveness.
Oh, not at all. They're just a few runs within each other. He is going to continue to have his base runners be aggressive.
Goodner takes that one inside. And again, Goodner looks at a ball.
And this is a great job by Goodner, being disciplined at the plate, really waiting until her pitch shows up for her to drive.
The 3-0. Takes it for a strike on the outside corner. Eddie Hillis thought that one caught just enough of the plate.
On a 3-0 count, that did catch the outer part of the plate, but for Goodner right here, she doesn't really need to chase and expand her zone.
Again, that ball just catching the corner. Maybe the black of the black on that plate.
I think so.
The 3-2. And that one called ball 4. I don't know quite what the difference was between that pitch and the 2 before it.
I was about to say, Dorian, it looked pretty similar to the pitch before. And as we saw Goodner and her at bat, she was squaring around the bunt as she saw Bailey Sparks back about bag high at first base.
That loads the bases for Kendall McClendon. McClendon grounded out to second in the first, doubled back in the third. As that one is hammered. Chased down by Shelby Pettingill in left field to end the inning. Great defensive grab, but Taylor gets one in the top half of the 5th. They are up by 5. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
I'm Logan Duval.
And I'm Lauren McCullough, and we are pleased to represent Arkansas PBS as the host of these first installments of the new segment series, Good Roots.
Good Roots will explore the culture and innovation of small towns across the state of Arkansas. Tune in for Arkansas Week or find us online.
You know, I think sports are really big to a lot of people, and because it's an important part of our fabric in our community. And the one good thing about what I've seen is it's high quality production. You know, you think of the small communities all over Arkansas, it's a big deal that they can turn on the TV or DVR or whatever and know they're going to get a quality product. And so I think it just expands the focus of what PBS is doing. You know, Arkansas PBS is doing a great job, and I think it's part of education.
Without you, Arkansas PBS would not be possible. Consider becoming a member to support Arkansas high school sports today at myarpbs.org/donate. Taylor added to their lead in the top half of the 4th inning. They are now up 8-3, and it will be Holzman, Brigler, and Beck coming to the plate for Sacred Heart.
At the bottom of the 4th inning, batting for the Rebels, number 3, Emerson Holzman.
Holzman grounded out to 3rd for the 2nd out, back in the 2nd inning. Shows bunt, lays it down. Morton fields her position over to 1st in time to get the out.
And that was a great job by the Taylor defenders. Madison Morton coming off of the mound to get that bunt. I think if it would have been a little bit softer, Holzman would have had a chance, but as we saw, the corners were crashing so hard when they saw her hand square around the bunt.
And the velocity with which that ball got to Morton, a product of this turf field that plays so differently than a traditional dirt field. Sydney Brigler takes strike 1. She singled to right in the 2nd. One of 5 Lady Rebels hits here this afternoon. The 0-1 fouled back to the screen.
And Sydney Brigler, as we just saw, she was all over that pitch, getting a piece of it.
And we talk a lot about this game being a game of inches. Nowhere is it more prevalent than when you're hitting, because the difference between a foul ball to the screen, a pop-up, and a home run is 1/8 of an inch.
It most definitely is.
The 0-2 fouled back to the screen again.
And to stem off of your point, you take a cut like that, and I know you've experienced it, I've experienced it. You're like, my gosh, I was all over that pitch. If it just would have gone out in front of me and not behind me.
And that's when you know your timing's right. At least you are timing the pitch correctly. You're just missing it high, low, not early or late.
Right. And timing's a big piece of hitting.
Some would argue the biggest piece of hitting. The 0-2. That one hit hard down the line and right. That ball is fair. And Sydney Brigler once again coming up with a base hit to right field.
And for Sydney Brigler, as we just saw in her at bat, she was all over Madison Morton's pitches, really staying on that outer part of the plate. This is the 2nd time that she's been worked inside and then ends up getting pitched outside on the outer part of the plate later in her at bat. Really staying on that outside pitch, doing a good job with it.
Brigler taking time to tie her cleat down there at 1st. As Lizzie Beck will be the batter for the Sacred Heart Lady Rebels. Beck, the only strikeout victim of the day for Madison Morton. She struck out swinging to end the 2nd. And Sydney Madison Morton, not a pitcher that has a high volume strikeout number, certainly more pitch to contact, let the defense play behind you.
frightened to go off of that, Dorian. I was going to speak shortly thereafter and explain that, yes, she doesn't have a high volume of strikeouts. She really trusts her defense, and that is something that Coach Adam Camp said that he really pounded into her mind coming into the postseason, is just rely on your defense to do the work behind you.
The 0-1 to Beck. Squares to bunt. Popped in the air. It will spin foul as May lets the ball go into foul territory before picking it up.
And that's a good job by May letting that roll foul. Sometimes on dirt we'll see that ball. That's kind of iffy. You know, you played third base.
I do know, and I was actually going to say that's one of the things I like better about these turf fields when it comes to true hops. When I was playing travel ball back when I was probably 16 years old, we played on a dirt field where it had rained and they had drugged the field, and there were still tire track marks along the third base line. It happened twice where someone laid down a bunt and I let it go foul, and it came back into fair territory for a hit.
Oh, that is not luck at all.
The 0-2 stays upstairs. Snap throw to first. Brigler back in time.
And I know that was a bunt, but we've seen it over the past 3 days that the turf does play true to the hop, but we've also seen a few balls that kind of has some funky spin.
Yeah, the blades of the turf, again, not like traditional dirt, the rubber pellets that are in between them. It causes it a little funky kick sometimes when it hits it just right. Struck her out for the second time today.
And Lizzie Beck, that's the second time that we've seen her come up to bat. It just hasn't gone in her favor, but she has been ultra aggressive with every swing that she has taken.
Selectively aggressive was the way that Kyle Duvall explained his offensive strategy for his team today, and those are good pitches to swing at by Lizzie Beck, and that will bring Mackenzie Greason up. Greason 1 for 2. Singled to lead things off in the first, as she takes ball 1 inside. Sacred Heart trailing 8-3 here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 3 runs on 6 hits, 2 errors for the Lady Rebels, 11 hits, 8 runs for Taylor, as they started off this game with a bang. 3 in the first, 4 in the second. Greason looks at a strike.
And that's a great pitch by Madison Morton, getting behind in the count with 1 ball, no strikes, throwing it on that curveball on the outer part of the plate. And we've really seen her remain staying low in the zone this entire game to these Sacred Heart hitters.
Greason has some pop and some speed, 5 triples on the year. Fouls it down the third base line.
Madison Morton, she has executed that screwball on the inner part of the plate to these Sacred Heart hitters well. Not a lot of times that we've seen them get their hands to be out and around the ball.
And Madison Morton wasn't necessarily going to be the starting pitcher for this team throughout the majority of the season. They've been pitching by committee, and it's really been Morton that's come on as of late. And that one from Morton didn't miss by much, but Greason takes it for ball 2.
She hasn't pitched in 4 years. That is a long time to not have that feel of being on the mound and really working at something that is an art. It takes a lot of practice at.
The 2-2. Ripped down the line, foul. And Sydney, to your point about not pitching in 4 years, that's because Taylor had Lindsay Downs, who is the stellar pitcher for the Tigers. She was the MVP of the 2019 state championship game. Struck out 9 in that 10-0 win. Also with a 2-run homer in the 6th. That Taylor team, one of the best in program history. They finished the year 30-1.
What a record that is.
Championship run, and she was pretty much the go-to pitcher for Taylor during that time. As Greason fouls it back, and so Madison Morton having to wait her turn.
And I think that goes a lot to how athletic she is. It takes a lot for an athlete who has predominantly played a position to step out on the mound and fulfill that role.
Well, not just her athleticism, but just the patience and the maturity that it takes to sit for 4 years or 3 years behind somebody else. The 2-2. Off speed, stays up.
And I'm sure within those years she learned a lot from Lindsay Downs. You know, sometimes as athletes, obviously everyone wants to be out on the field, but you can learn a lot if there's someone ahead of you who is very successful.
And not just a 1A state title for Taylor in 2019, they also won it in 2018 and 2017. The 3-2 taken inside for ball 4. So Greason able to work a 2-out walk, and Sacred Heart with 2 on with 2 out for Shelby Pettingill.
This Sacred Heart offense, they're not giving up.
Number 4, Shelby Pettingill.
Now this is a team, as we said, that the senior heavy lineup was really the turning point for this Lady Rebels program. They have been through a lot, making it to the state title game. As Pettingill takes a strike on the outer part of the plate, they're not giving up. They have been through a lot to get to this point. Coach Duval told us that, you know, losing the 2020 season really one of the rallying points for this team, as it's been for the majority of the teams across the state. The 0-1 fouled back out of play. Just missed us back here in the press box.
As we have our window barely open.
I think the netting will protect us. I think we're okay. You have your glove back in here, right?
Yeah, we have our gloves. I mean, if that netting wasn't there, we'd be prepared.
I think you're more, I have the open window. So I got us covered back here. 2 on, 2 out for Sacred Heart here in the bottom of the 4th inning as they trail 8-3. That one taken for ball 1.
That pitch just gets away from Morton. As we can tell, she was throwing arm side, really wanting to attack Pettingill back inside tight as the pitch before she fouled it off.
Pettingill hitting .298. 18 hits on the year. That one to the backstop. Brigler's off and running. She will be into 3rd, and they're going to say that hit Pettingill. So Madison Morton has issued a walk and a hit by pitch after a Sydney Brigler single, and now the bases are loaded for Sacred Heart.
And to go back to Sacred Heart, their senior heavy lineup, this team is showing a lot of heart, a lot of fight. For most of these girls, this is going to be probably the last game that they play.
And it is Halen Holzman who steps to the plate now in a big RBI opportunity for her team. She had the RBI double in the 3rd. Remember getting into the base, being really pumped up, and then ended up scoring on the fielder's choice later in the inning. And she is swinging at the first pitch, back up the middle. That ball is going to skip through. 2 runs are going to come in to score as Holzman coming through again in a big way for the Lady Rebels.
Like you just said, Dorian, stepping up for Sacred Heart, coming in with a big way. Holzman blasts that ball past the shortstop. As we've talked about the turf, it speeds the ball up as a ground ball is being hit, and that was already hard as it is. Really aggressive base running also.
That ball, a tough play for Carly Downs at shortstop, hit sharply on the ground. It is a single as 2 runs come in, and Sacred Heart refusing to go away, cutting it to an 8-5 Taylor lead in the 4th. Ball 1 low to Elizabeth Aquilar. Aquilar, the Arkansas Tech commit, as we mentioned earlier in the game, something that's a big accomplishment, not just for Aquilar, but this entire Sacred Heart program. Tapped on the ground, Downs this time getting the ball over to first in time to get Aquilar, but Sacred Heart gets 2 runs back. The lead now down to 3 as we head to the 5th inning. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
For every moment, for every memory, from that first car to your first home to your first child and all the highs and lows that tomorrow might bring. For everything that matters most to you and your family, there's someone right around the corner dedicated to helping you protect what you love. Your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people. For every moment, for every memory, from that first car to your first home to your first child and all the highs and lows that tomorrow might bring. For everything that matters most to you and your family, there's someone right around the corner dedicated to helping you protect what you love. Your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
This past year has felt like a marathon in many ways, with each of us working to reach the finish line. We are happy we can make this journey together. Arkansas PBS is over halfway to our goal of adding 3,000 members by June 30th. If we succeed, we receive $21,000 from our Ambassador Circle. If you're not yet a member, you can help us reach the finish line. Call or go online today.
Learn more about the issues that impact our state with our long-running public affairs program, Arkansas Week, Fridays at 7:30 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. right here on Arkansas PBS. Well, if you thought this game was over after the second inning, I got news for you, folks. We have got ourselves a ball game as Sacred Heart has cut it to 8-5 here in the top of the fifth inning. It will be Michaela Downs, Carly Downs, and Madison Morton to bat for Taylor here in the top half of the inning.
Like they always say, Dorian, it's never over until it's over.
That's right. That's how you play the game, right? You never know what's going to happen.
This game works in such a funny way, and not that this is funny, it just shows how gritty and relentless these athletes can be.
Both teams showing a lot of heart here this afternoon as the 3-0. Taken for a strike by Michaela Downs. Downs 1 for 2 with a double and a ground out. Grounded out to Halen Holzman back in the second as she works the leadoff walk. Adam Camp talking with home plate umpire Eddie Hillis, signaling for a runner for his designated player. That is going to be Reese Fowler, the flex, playing in right field, not batting in the lineup. And that's the beauty of the DP flex player.
That is, they work as like a superhuman sometimes. We see that a lot with Ali Monzo and Larissa Sensenia up at Arkansas.
Arkansas, of course, hosting the Fayetteville Regional this weekend, which is why we are hosting the state softball championships at the Benton Sports Athletic Complex. The 6th seed Arkansas advancing into the championship game of the regional with a 4-0 win over South Dakota State earlier this afternoon.
Batting number 2, Carly Downs.
Carly Downs takes ball 1. Downs 2 for 3 with 2 singles in the first and the second. She flied out to straightaway center field back in the third. Takes that one for strike 2 on the outer part.
And this is Downs' second time to see Bailey Sparks, as it will be all of these Taylor hitters. She's staying very patient, just like Michaela Downs did.
Shows bunt with 2 strikes. That ball is going to just stay inside the line. Aquilar picks it up, but Downs already all the way to first. And Sydney, I think if she would have had the patience to let that ball roll, the trajectory on that was curving towards that first baseline, and with 2 strikes, that would have been an out.
You're exactly right, Dorian. It sure would have been an out. You know, in that situation with 2 strikes, that's a bold move. It obviously worked in her favor as she saw the corners back high, but they were because there was 2 strikes.
And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of trust to let that ball play out on its trajectory. As Madison Morton steps in with 2 on and no out. Morton has reached base successfully all 3 times at the plate, a single in the first, double in the second, and a single in the fourth. And she is ahead in the count 2-0.
Talking about Madison Morton, she has been dialed in every single time that she has stepped up to the plate. And as a pitcher, they say it a lot, you've got that pitcher's eye. You get up to the plate, you're very disciplined because you as a pitcher, you know what's coming at you.
Pitchers and catchers, they know the strike zone better than anyone as she leaves that one outside for ball 3.
Through observing this game, one thing that I love to see about these Taylor base runners is they don't go back to the base until the ball is back on the mound. They watch it all the way back in case there is a mistake made.
4-pitch walk issued to Madison Morton. And now the base is full of Tigers, and that is Kyle Duvall's signal to come back out to the mound and talk to Bailey Sparks. And Sydney, you and I were talking in between innings. We wondered how long Duvall would stay with Sparks before perhaps turning back to Greason after these Taylor hitters got their timing on Sparks.
Talking about what we had talked about previous to this, we had said that it'd only take a little bit of time for these Taylor hitters to adjust, and then once that happened, there would be a change made, as we're seeing right here.
Well, one other pitcher on the roster for Sacred Heart, that would be Gabrielle Moore, who has only thrown 1 inning. So who will Duvall turn to? And it will be back to the starter, Mackenzie Greason. Will be going back into pitch as Sparks moves back over to first base.
And like we had talked about, this is not a bad decision. There was they had their timing, the adjustments had to be made because of the speed difference. So now, versus having to adjust to a slower speed, they're having to readjust to faster speed.
And Sydney, which do you think it's easier to do, adjust down to slow or just back up to fast?
Oh my gosh, I think it is way harder adjusting to slow, but I'm speaking from a slapper's point of view. Slow pitching, I hated it.
I would agree from a stand-in hitter's point of view from the right side. I would agree. It's always harder, I think, to train yourself to be patient enough to go back to a slower pitcher. They say the easiest pitch to hit in softball is actually a fastball. All you have to do is catch your hands up to it.
Right.
We're going to step away as Mackenzie Greason gets back warmed up. We will be right back. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
Throughout the years of exploring Arkansas, we've taken you to quite a few awe-inspiring places, mainly as seen at ground level. But exploring all those natural wonders and iconic landmarks takes on a whole new exhilarating perspective from a bird's eye view. Welcome to Exploring Arkansas from Above. We'll showcase the natural state like never before. Join us for the high adventure in 2021.
Big moment here in the top of the 5th as 2 runs come in on the single back up the middle by Heidi May. She swung at the first pitch offering from Mackenzie Greason and slapped it right back up the middle, and on that turf, that ball just high chopper, no chance for Emerson Holzman to get to it here at second.
And with bases loaded, no outs, that is a big timely hit to secure 2 more runs across to put them up on the board.
Greason staying off the plate for ball 1 to Madison Lindsay. Runners on second and first, nobody out for Taylor here in the top of the 5th. That ball high in the air, but playable at short. Infield fly is called as that is Carly Cooper camping out underneath it.
Lindsay has been phenomenal in all of her at-bats so far. That pitch that she just swung out, she was a little bit out in front, thus her hands getting underneath it to pop it up.
That is out number 1 for the Taylor Tigers. Lauren Leonard now reached on an error in her last at-bat in the 4th inning. Grounded out the 2 previous times as that ball skips away. And that is Jaslyn Rich, the courtesy runner for Madison Morton, advancing to 3rd.
That ball kicking away from Elizabeth Aguilar. She did a great job of trying to work her body around it to block it. It just hit off of her left shoulder.
Fouled back at the screen as Leonard just missed that one.
She's another hitter that we have seen who's all over that pitch.
Leonard with 17 RBIs on the season. Curveball caught the outside corner.
That curveball looking to be a little bit off the plate, not working in Leonard's favor. Now she's to a 1-2 count, so she's gonna have to grind to work her way back.
Taylor up 5 here in the 5th. That curveball stayed outside.
And that's a great job there with a 1-2 count. Greason just went back-to-back curveballs. Typically when you have 2 strikes, you want to chase at that pitch because you don't want to go down looking.
Count even at 2-2. Into the turf for ball 3 as Leonard has worked the count full. And Sydney, runners on 2nd and 3rd for Taylor with 1 out. Really an opportunity here for Leonard to really blow this game wide open. Line down at Adam Camp there at 3rd. He didn't try to stop that one this time.
No, he was not going to barehand that ball. He knew better. I think we saw a little heel click.
Hop, yeah.
That ball was hit way too hard. Now on that one, he would definitely need a glove to defend himself.
The 3-2. Taken low for ball 4. And again, Taylor with the bases loaded.
And that's a really great at-bat by Leonard. She was in a 1-2 count to work it back. She stayed disciplined. She didn't chase. And typically that's easy to do when you have 2 strikes on you, is to chase. And she had runners in scoring position. She didn't make the moment bigger than what it was.
Maggie McHenry 0 for 1 with 2 RBIs. Singled in the 1st, grounded out in the 2nd. As she takes strike 1 on the outer part of the plate. And she had a sacrifice fly back in the 4th. McHenry came into today hitting .355, 22 hits, 18 singles, 3 doubles. Does have a home run on the season. Just got on top of that one.
That pitch that Mackenzie Greason just threw, she took a little bit off of it. McHenry, she was a little bit out in front as she pulled her head and came around that ball.
That's always one of the things I sometimes struggled with as a hitter, is keeping that front side locked in instead of letting it pull open and pull everything to the left side of the field.
Sometimes that happens. You get a little bit too excited.
Ball low.
I think we have all fallen victim to that at times. There's so many parts to the swing that you mechanically can get out of pitch to pitch, and it's just knowing what adjustment needs to be made that next.
The 2-2. And she's chasing low as Greason gets Maggie McHenry in a big spot for a strikeout with the bases loaded.
And that was a huge moment for Greason. Bases loaded, 1 out with McHenry up to bat. That makes a statement, the way that she just went at McHenry.
9th batter of the inning for Taylor. Leslie Goodner. 1 for 3, singled back in the 1st, fly out in the 3rd. Worked a walk in the 4th, so 0 for 2 for Goodner. Another one of the seniors in this Taylor roster. Leaves that one up.
And as we talked about adjusting from Sparks to Greason, her last at bat was against Sparks, so now she's having to readjust to faster pitching.
I know we've only seen a couple of batters, but so far it looks like Taylor more comfortable against Greason. Bases loaded, 2 out. 3-1 to Leslie Goodner. Mackenzie Greason doesn't have anywhere to put her.
No, she doesn't.
The 3-1. Ball 4 inside, and that will bring home the pinch runner, Jaslyn Rich, as it is now a 6-run lead for the Taylor Tigers.
And in that situation, that's not what you want, to walk in a run. You would rather her put the ball in play and allow your defense to work back behind you.
Kendall McClendon looks at strike 1.
That ball was spinning, curving off of the plate. Elizabeth Aguilar, she did a really great job of framing that pitch.
McClendon doubled in the 3rd, and she rockets that one back up the middle. Leonard being waved around, she will score as McClendon gets a 2 RBI single, and the Tigers up 13-5 in the 5th.
And that's a great job, bases loaded, 2 outs. She got her barrel around that curveball on the outer part of the plate, blasting it back up the middle. Really great base running too by Leslie Goodner as she went 1st to 3rd.
RBIs number 16 and 17 on the year for Taylor, who has batted around in this inning. Michaela Downs, the DP's walk to start off the top of the 5th, came around to score. McClendon off and running, and she is going to be out at 2nd. A strike from Elizabeth Aquilar will get McClendon trying to take a base, but Taylor hangs 5 in the top of the 5th. They are up 13-5. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
I think it's important for Arkansas PBS to have sports because it provides sports on a greater platform to the entire community. And it also gives people in various other communities an opportunity to see other schools and other athletes and to have a greater appreciation for not just their own community, but the sports that are available across the state of Arkansas. There are so many lessons that sports provides, and it's one of the reasons why it's so important to the next generation of athletes coming up.
Riggs Rents, Arkansas's rental equipment provider, from aerial lifts to dirt moving machines and everything in between. Our family-owned and operated business takes pride in serving our employees and customers. Riggs Rents, a proud supporter of Arkansas PBS Sports. John's Honda, your hometown dealer for sales and service of Honda motorcycles, ATVs, Honda generators, and Honda lawnmowers. Family-owned and operated since 1967, John's Honda offers factory-certified technicians and experienced sales staff.
For a DVD copy of any of the state championship games, go to M&M Productions to place your order. That's mmproductions.net. Madison Morton back on the mound to start the bottom of the 5th inning with the Taylor Tigers leading 13-5. The Tigers getting a big inning in the top of the 5th with 5 runs to give themselves a little extra cushion after Sacred Heart was able to cut the deficit down to 3 in the 4th.
Sacred Heart coming back to cut the deficit down. That just shows how much fight they have, and I'm sure in this inning they are not going to lie down to this Taylor team.
It will be Sparks, Cooper, and Holzman up to the plate for the Lady Rebels in the bottom of the 5th. Holzman 0 for 2, or Sparks rather, 0 for 2 today. Grounded out to third in the first. Grounded out to third in the third with an RBI. That one lifted high in the air to left field, but right at Leslie Goodner for out number 1.
And that's a great play by Leslie Goodner. Right now, the sun is starting to shift. As we could tell from her facial expression, the sun is kind of in her eyes. She did a really great job of sticking with that. It is hard to catch a ball with the sun in your eyes.
Can we get her a visor, a pair of sunglasses, something out there?
Yeah, something.
Well, that setting sun can certainly play tricks as we see shadows start to show across the field here at the Benton Schools Athletic Complex. We are nearly 2 hours into this 1A state championship game. First pitch just after 4 o'clock. It is now almost 10 till 7, 10 till 6. I can read time.
Yes, you can.
We've had so many runs, it feels like it's an hour later. Swung on and missed by Carly Cooper.
And that is a great pitch made by Madison Morton. She has executed her pitches very well throughout these 5 innings.
Cooper 0 for 2. Another ground out to first in the second and a ground out to second in the third. As she takes that for strike 2.
Throwing that curveball on the outer part of the plate again. She's really relied on working east to west, mixing it up, going out on these hitters, then back in tight inside on their hands.
I feel like some of these ground outs could be a tongue twister. Ground out to third, ground out to second, ground out to fifth.
There's been a lot of them.
There have been a lot. Both of these teams putting the ball in play. Not a lot of strikeouts here in this 1A state championship. A lot of runs, though.
A ton.
1-2. That one flared down the right field line, but foul.
This has indeed been the highest scoring game that we have seen over the past 3 days.
We've seen a lot of good softball over the last 3 days. All of our games have been competitive, and it's just been such a joy to see the players back out on the field, the coaches, the fans in the stands. Once again, as everybody knows, losing that 2020 year to COVID-19.
That is just very impactful and has been to a lot of people's lives.
The 1-2. Left upstairs is the count now even.
And you know, for these parents of these athletes and these family members, they're just loving to be able to watch their daughters out on the field competing once again and for a state title.
Now, despite not being at Bogle Park this year, the stands at Benton have been packed for every single state championship game. The 2-2. Taken on the outside part of the plate for strike 3.
And that is another great curveball by Madison Morton. She is a pitcher that knows exactly where she's going to throw it. She spots the ball extremely well.
Third strikeout of the day for Madison Morton, as she will now face Emerson Holzman. Holzman, the younger sister of third baseman Halen Holzman.
And we've seen that, okay? We've seen some sisters. We've seen sisters with their dad coaching. We saw that earlier today. Just like you said earlier, it's a family affair.
We saw cousins yesterday for Morrilton, as Holzman offers at the rise ball.
And I don't have a sister, I have a brother. I wonder what that is like. I'm sure it's ultra competitive between the two.
I have no siblings, so I would not know, but I can guarantee that I would be competitive. Holzman 0 for 2 this afternoon. Leaves that low. Sydney, one of the things that we talked about with Kyle Duvall is this crowd from Morrilton. It's not just Sacred Heart that they've been cheering on. This crowd also here for the Morrilton Devil Dogs, who took home the 4A state title yesterday. He talked about What a trip this has been for the entire community as Holzman flares it to first rather, for the third out of the inning. Lady Rebels go in order as we head to the top of the 6th. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
Baseball, the most watched series in PBS history, is coming home.
There he goes.
See how baseball became our national pastime and why this Ken Burns series remains an American classic.
Sign up for our newsletter to be entered to win the entire Ken Burns baseball series on DVD.
Blueberry's Clubhouse is back. Catch up with Blueberry, Max, and their new friends at camp beginning in July. See the complete schedule at myarpbs.org/schedule. That was Michaela Downs flying out to right field to start off the top half of the 6th inning.
That was a great job by Emerson out in right field to make the grab. And we just saw after that out the infield come together, meeting at the mound.
Carly Downs takes ball 1.
And that's something I don't see a lot now, Dorian. Whenever I played high school ball, I felt like we met at the mound almost after every pitch.
Something like that. That ball hit hard on the ground to short. Cooper over in time to first. Downs able to leg it out for her 4th single of the day.
And that just shows the speed that she has. She was scooting down the first baseline.
Downs has singles in the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and now the top of the 6th as she beats that one out. A nice play from Carly Cooper at shortstop to backhand it and get it over to first. But Downs able to get there first. Madison Morton. That ball is into the gap in right center field. Downs going to be waved around. She will head for third. And Morton takes second on the throw as it gets all the way to Halen Holzman at third.
And that is such quality hitting for Madison Morton. A runner at first, driving it in the right center field gap, really staying on that curveball on the outer part of the plate. Also great base running by Downs going first to third. As the throw came in, Morton legging out a double.
Sydney, as impressive as this Taylor team has been, I think that is actually what has impressed me the most about the Tigers is their base running.
I agree with that 100%. That is what I have been most impressed with.
Heidi May 1 for 3 RBIs. And that is going to be RBI number 4 and 5 as Morton being waved around at the plate, no throw. As Heidi May gets a 2 RBI single here in the top of the 6th.
And that's a great piece of hitting by May, sending that into center field to score Morton and Downs.
There was no stopping Madison Morton. Adam Camp waving her all the way around from second base. No play at the plate. And the first pitch from Lindsay sliced down the left field line. Pettengill giving chase but can't get there.
And Pettengill, she was playing in the left center field gap. She actually just ran an extremely long way.
15-5 now the score here in the 1A state championship between the Taylor Tigers and the Sacred Heart Lady Rebels. That ball bobbled. May is off and running and she is into second base.
And that's a great read from May. If you know that you are a athlete who the ball can be bobbled just so ever slightly and you can take that extra base, do so, and she just did that.
And that is something that aggressive teams preach. As soon as you see that ball hit the dirt, you go. You put that pressure on the catcher, make them get you out.
Right.
You know who's really good at that is actually Matt Goodhart. You don't think of Matt Goodhart for Arkansas baseball as a speedy runner, but he is great reading those pitches in the dirt.
Right, and a big thing that they talk to us about at Arkansas is you can be speedy, but also it helps to be a very smart base runner. There's at times base runners who aren't as fast, but they're just very smart.
The 2-1. That ball high in the air to center field. Beck back to make out number 2, and May is going to tag. She takes third, as Beck had no play on the speedy May advancing to third base.
And this is just some quality base running. It is really top-notch. They turn singles into doubles. They tag on balls elevated to the outfield. They've even scored on ground balls hit to the infield. You just do not see that often, as this game is starting to kind of turn towards a baseball mentality type game.
Lauren Leonard swinging at the first pitch. That ball is high and playable. And Elizabeth Aquilar had it in her glove, but just can't hold on, as first baseman Bailey Sparks also closing in.
And that's a hard play for Aquilar to make as she's catching it.
Those tweeners always some of the most difficult balls to come up with. They're slicing away as the 0-1 delivered. It stays low to Lauren Leonard.
Those most definitely are the hardest type of balls to hit, or to catch, excuse me. In that situation, I would have liked to have seen Bailey Sparks come over from first base.
Leonard hard on the ground to third. Holzman makes the grab, and from her knees gets the out at first to end the inning. Taylor leading 15-5 as we head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
For information regarding COVID-19 vaccine clinic locations, call the Arkansas Department of Health Vaccine Clinic Call Center at 1-800-985-6030.
Now, more than ever, community is important. Local schools, businesses, and charities are in need of support. Each one of us can make a difference. When you volunteer, give, shop locally, or simply participate, you help support and grow your community. It makes us all stronger when we all are involved. I'm Susie Everett with Everett Buick GMC. We're proud to be a part of this wonderful community and want to encourage each of you to be involved in yours.
Taylor leading 15-5 here in the bottom half of the 6th inning, and Sacred Heart needing to get a run at least to keep their season alive, because in the Arkansas, in the AAA, it is a 10-run rule after 5 innings. So if the score stands, this game will be over after this half of the inning.
For Sacred Heart here, they are really going to have to be dialed into their at-bats, not get outside of themselves. They're going to need a run to take it into the 7th inning.
736 on hand to watch this 1A state championship between Taylor and Sacred Heart. And it will be the bottom of the order, Brigler, Beck, and then the leadoff, Mackenzie Greason for the Lady Rebels. Ball one upstairs, and if your head coach, Kyle Duvall, Sydney Brigler, actually the person that you want at the plate right now. She's 2 for 2 with 2 singles.
She has been hot today. She has made the most out of both of her at-bats. She is seeing the ball extremely well.
Brigler singled in the 2nd and then singled and scored as part of that 2-run inning in the 4th. As she takes a cut at that.
And that's a great pitch by Morton on the outer part of the plate, throwing that curveball once again. She has really lived on that side of the plate against these Sacred Heart hitters.
Morton, the 1-1. That one just a bit outside.
Just a little bit outside, just a little bit away from her.
Give it the old Bob Uecker from the Major League movies, just a bit outside. We've had big leads, we've had smaller leads, we've had just about everything here in this 1A state championship game. As Brigler takes strike 2 on the inner part of the plate.
We have really seen it all, Dorian. It has been a very action-packed filled game. And we've seen it on all aspects of it, out on defense, the mound, pitching, hitting, all of it. Base running has been the most crucial part of this game.
I think that's been the difference maker for Taylor in this game, has been the aggressiveness with which they've run the bases. Brigler living down that right field line today. Both of her singles have been into right field, and she has been the best Lady Rebels hitter at taking that curveball and taking it the opposite way.
And that's exactly what you do with that pitch. Most times hitter, especially on the right side, they like to try to pull that pitch to left field up the middle. Dorian's pointing.
As I say, you can't see in the box, I am raising my hand and pointing to myself.
But yeah, she did a great job staying on that pitch, as she has done all game.
The 2-2. That one chopped back up the middle. Downs over to first in time for out number 1.
And that's a great play by Carly Downs. Sometimes that hop, it's hard to judge on if you should come get it or sit back and wait on it. But that also stems from knowing how fast the hitter is at the plate. She makes a really great play there.
Brigler retired for the first time today, and it is Lizzie Beck who has struck out twice. Up for the Lady Rebels. Swinging at strike 1. And Sydney, from this point out for this Taylor defense, the most important thing is actually fundamentals. You're up by 10. You don't really need to worry about any of the runners. You just need to be solid defensively and get the easiest outs. Beck fouls it back to the screen, and she is quickly down 0-2.
Right, for this Taylor defense, they are up by 10 runs, like you did say. They just need to settle in, stick to the fundamentals. That's a huge part of this game, is sticking to the fundamentals. But sometimes in these situations, we see a team being up by 10 runs, putting the ball in play, and then it starts to get a little bit sporadic.
The 0-2 to Beck. Gets her looking at strike 3. That is the 5th strikeout of the day for Madison Morton.
And that is another great pitch by Madison Morton, living on that outer part of the plate, throwing a curveball. As we saw Madison Lindsay, she was set up even farther off of the plate, but she adjusted as that pitch came in right over the white.
Mackenzie Greason now stands in. Sacred Heart down to the final out of their 2021 season. As she looks at strike number 1.
Madison Morton, she is down to her final out. Before she just threw that pitch, she turned and looked at center fielder Lauren Leonard. That was a really special moment, I think, between the two.
Oh, Morton locked and loaded. She is coming after Greason, trying to finish this thing off at the plate. The 0-1. Curveball catches the outside, and it is now 1 strike away from the 7th state championship for the Taylor Tigers.
She has executed that pitch so well this entire game. She really does not miss.
Tigers fans on their feet on the first base side of the field here at the Benton Sports Athletic Complex. The 0-2. And they're going to have to wait as that one stays low.
Just slipping out of her hand just a tad. It looked as though she was trying to go back to that curveball.
The 1-2 to Greason. Popped foul and out of play as Greason stays alive.
just staying alive as Morton just threw her changeup up and in. She did a good job of getting a piece of it to stay alive in this at-bat.
We haven't seen a whole lot of off-speed from Morton in this game. Gutsy call at 1-2 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Morton to the plate. Again, going to the off-speed, and Reeson has worked the count even at 2-2.
You know, it's really interesting, Dorian, because we have not seen her throw that off-speed a ton. She's really heavily relied on her curve and her screwball.
And Reeson does have a hit today. She singled back in the 1st inning. Flew out to right in the 3rd and walked in the 4th.
She is a very disciplined hitter at the plate.
The 2-2 from Morton. Back up the middle, Morton loses her glove, gets the ball, and she is met by head coach Adam Camp as the Taylor Tigers capture the 1A state championship. They take it 15-5 over Sacred Heart.
Talk about Madison Morton making that last out hard hit ball back at her, hitting off of her glove. She throws her glove off, bare hands it to get the out at first. What a special moment for this team.
She was going to throw it in the air in a few minutes anyway.
Definitely.
And as excited as the players are, I'm not sure that anybody was more excited coming out of that first base dugout than head coach Adam Camp.
He sprinted out of that dugout. He was ready.
You see the emotion on the faces of the players and coaches for the Taylor Tigers as they capture their 7th state championship in program history, their 4th, I guess, in the last 5 years, dating back to 2017. Skipping that 2020 year, they have now won the last 4 1A state championships that have been played.
There's so much excitement, and there's so much to be said about this Taylor team, and we're going to get there. But whether it's your 1st, it's your 3rd, it's your 4th, it is all just the same. It is just as exciting.
It never loses how special this moment is, and we are going to continue our coverage of the 1A state championship when we come back. You are watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
Baseball, the most watched series in PBS history, is coming home.
There he goes.
See how baseball became our national pastime and why this Ken Burns series remains an American classic.
Sign up for our newsletter to be entered to win the entire Ken Burns baseball series on DVD.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it. At Big Red Stores, we're always proud to sponsor, support, and partner up with many events and activities throughout the community. Among them, high school championships throughout the state of Arkansas. At Big Red Stores, our team members are always ready to assist you to make your visit with us a pleasant one. And at Big Red Stores, we recognize that none of our support or ability to serve the community is possible without you. That's why at Big Red Stores, you're always the MVP of the Big Red team. Big Red Stores, now more convenient than ever.
The Taylor Tigers being awarded their first place trophy as they swarm over and lift it high in the air. And Sydney, this one never really in doubt. Taylor seemed in control of this game from the very first inning when they scored 3 runs. The big inning, of course, coming in the 5th when they got 5 to really take control of this game.
Most definitely, Dorian, and this Taylor team, they were a dominant force from the jump, starting in the 1st inning all the way finishing until the 6th. All aspects of their game, and we talked about it, we give majority of the props to their base running. It is really what helped propel them forward throughout this game.
An offensive explosion from the Taylor Tigers, 15 runs on 17 hits, 6 walks. And you know what, the one thing we didn't see in this game was a home run.
You're exactly right. We have seen that this entire time, the past 3 days.
Madison Morton, your 1A state championship MVP. She got it done at the plate, 4 for 4, 2 runs, 2 RBIs for Morton to go along with 6 innings pitched. She scattered 7 hits, giving up 5 runs, walking 2, and striking out 4.
Another phenomenal, versatile player that can get it done on the mound and up at the plate. You love to see it.
We will have a complete recap of the 1A state championship when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Centennial State Softball Championships on Arkansas PBS Sports.
On behalf of the Arkansas Givers Association.
Join us this summer for the 2nd season of Blueberry's Clubhouse. We'll see a whole new crop of friends for the very best adventures in Arkansas.
Stay connected to your public media network. Text ARPBS to 313131 to receive the latest updates. Message and data rates may apply.
The Taylor Tigers capture their 7th state championship in program history. They have now won the last 4 that have been played, dating back to 2017. Welcome everybody back into the Benton Sports Athletic Complex alongside Sydney Parr, Dorian Kraft. We've been so happy to have you with us here this weekend. And Sydney, Taylor was the favorite coming into this game, and we saw some great pitching from Mackenzie Morton, but in the end, it was the big bats of the Taylor Tigers that ended up being the difference.
1 through 9, they all stepped up to the plate with a plan, and they executed that. They were electric from the first inning to the 6th. They are so aggressive, and that is what makes them so good. At the plate, they're aggressive. On the base path, they're aggressive.
And you mentioned the base path. Something that Adam Camp told us before the game was that he expected everybody 1 through 9 to be able to put the ball in play, and that is certainly what happened here today. You had Morton 4 for 4. You had Casey Downs at the top of the lineup. She was 4 for 5. You had Heidi May with 5 RBIs despite just a 2 for 4 game. But Sydney, as you mentioned, it wasn't just the base hits, it was the base running that really ended up allowing them to get some of these extra runners into scoring position and bringing them in.
Right, they turned base hits into doubles. They really did a good job of advancing on ground balls hit to the infield, sac flies. I mean, they executed everything about their offense today. They did well. They even small balled.
Now on the other side of the field, as we always talk about, the ecstasy and the agony, Sacred Heart playing in their first state championship game in program history. Only the 2nd time they had been to the state semifinals, the last time coming in 2005 prior to this year. And Cindy, for a while, it looked like Sacred Heart would get back into this thing. They chipped away and they chipped away. They finally got it down to 3 runs in the 5th inning, but just too much from Taylor today.
They really did a great job the entire game fighting back. They left it all out on the field, and that is enough to be proud of. This is their first time here playing. They got to experience it. They're going to learn from it, and I'm sure they will be back out here in the years to come.
Certainly a lot for Kyle Duvall's squad to be proud of here this afternoon. They do fall to the Taylor Tigers 15-5 here in the 1A state championship. And Sydney, not just this game, but we've had a fantastic weekend of high school softball.
I'm honestly sad about it. We are done. It has been a phenomenal 3 days. Congrats to everyone who are now state champs. It just, on all aspects of it, the defense was great. We should make a highlight reel, honestly. Offense was great. The pitching was great. It was a great 3 days for the state of Arkansas.
The only thing that we were missing in the 1A state championship was a home run. This is the highest scoring game of the entire weekend was the only game in which we didn't see somebody put the ball out over the fence.
That just shows you that you don't have to rely upon the home run. You can get it done in other ways, and that's what makes this game so great.
That is going to put a bow on the Arkansas State High School Softball Championships. We have crowned 6 state winners over the last 3 days. We have been so happy to have you with us. For the final time for Sydney Parr, I am Dorian Crouch saying so long from the Benton Schools Athletic Complex. We'll see you next year.